Ever wondered how some historical leaders just seemed to know what was coming? Like they could see the hidden agendas behind, well, seemingly friendly faces.
That's a fascinating question.
Right. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really pivotal time in Indian history. We're focusing on the incredible Maratha Empire and their very complex, often pretty fierce dealings with European colonizers.
A truly defining period.
Absolutely. And our mission here is to pull out the most critical insights, maybe some surprising facts from the sources we've got for you. Think of it as a shortcut to getting really well informed about this unique resistance movement.
And what's striking right from the start in these sources is the incredible strategic foresight, particularly from Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. It was something quite rare then.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. The sources really hammer this home, how Shivaji Maharaj just saw right through the European traders' initial act. It's that old story, isn't it? Came with weighing scales, but used swords. How did he specifically see their ulterior motives so clearly when others maybe didn't?
Well, that's a great question. What made his judgment so, well, ahead of its time? There's this key document, the Adnyapatri. It spells it out pretty clearly.
Okay.
It says, the Portuguese, British, Dutch, and the Danish are moneylenders. However, they are not like other common moneylenders. So different from the start.
Right.
They arrive here with the help of the rulers in this country. Their kings are desirous of grabbing land in our country. They want to rule this country. He saw the whole imperial playbook, not just the trade aspect.
Wow. That's incredibly sharp. So this wasn't just a feeling, like a general distrust. He actually turned this foresight into actions, right?
Wow.
What specific things did he do to try and arrest their advances?
Exactly. He didn't just identify the threat. He acted straight away, building a strong navy, constructing sea forts. Really practical stuff.
Strategic.
Very. He even hit them economically, levying ochoi, like a local tax, on British salt. This wasn't just about money. It protected the local Maratha salt trade. Smart.
Yeah, that is smart.
And the Adnyapatra gets really specific on strategy. We should keep them at bay, maintaining only business relations. Simple, direct.
Keep your distance.
Right. He advised, don't give them land near a seafort. If you have to give them space for a factory, make sure it's far away from the seacoast and near a village.
Interesting placement.
And with strict conditions, no permanent buildings, no causing trouble. That level of detailed foresight, planning for future problems, it was remarkable.
So you might be wondering about the man himself beyond these policies. What was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj actually like as a leader?
Yeah, the personality behind the strategy.
Exactly. And the sources give us a fascinating glimpse from a Portuguese historian, Cosme de Guarda. He wrote a book, Vida de Celebre Shivaji.
From the other side, so to speak.
Right. And Guarda described Shivaji Maharaj as having such an awe-inspiring name that there is hardly anybody who would ever think of challenging him.
High praise.
Definitely. He also noted Shivaji was very impartial when it comes either to reward or punish. He never left a virtue unrewarded or a crime unpunished. Sounds fair.
Balanced.
And loved by all because of his valor and humane conduct. He is regarded throughout India as the greatest king, whose name was feared, and at the same time, he was also known as the one who cared the most for the welfare of his subjects. That's quite something, especially coming from a European contemporary.
It paints a picture of a complex, respected, and maybe even feared but fair leader.
Okay, so Shivaji's vision was clearly foundational, but the sources make this really bold claim. The Marathas were the only Indian rulers to adopt a policy of resistance against the European colonizers. How did this unique stance, this defiance, play out after him? Did it last?
That's a crucial point. This resistance wasn't just a Shivaji thing. It became baked into the Maratha identity, you could say. His son, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he fiercely fought the Portuguese.
Right.
And then later, you have Kamajiappa. He was Peshwa Bajirao's younger brother, a really capable general. He famously defeated the Portuguese at Versailles. That was a huge deal, taking a major Portuguese fort.
So a consistent policy across generations?
Yes, a long-term strategic commitment to resisting colonial expansion that really stands out in the sources.
Let's zoom in on the Portuguese then, the Farangis as they're called in some texts. First Europeans there set up forts Diu, Daman, Vasai, Chal, Panvel for Emo. Shivaji first bumps into them when he takes Kalyan and Bawandi. So what did they think when he started building this Maratha navy?
Oh, they were definitely alarmed. Initially, they actually offered some tech help for shipbuilding, believe it or not.
Really? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, initially, they didn't grasp the full extent of his ambition. But the governor of Goa quickly pulled back that help.
Ah, okay. Reality check.
And then, pretty quickly, they started helping the Siddis, this naval power from Abyssinia, based at Janjira, specifically when the Marathas were gearing up to attack the cities at Janjira Fort.
So playing both sides, or rather, siding against the bigger perceived threat.
Exactly. It shows how fluid things were. Alliances shifted based on immediate threats and opportunities. The Portuguese definitely saw the Maratha Navy as a direct challenge.
Their diplomatic maneuvering sounds pretty intricate. Like in 1665, they grabbed 13 Maratha ships off Karnataka, but then let them go because they were scared of the powerful Maratha Navy.
It suggests a grudging respect, or maybe just pragmatic fear. They didn't want to provoke too much.
But then, just a year later, 1666, they're supplying ammo to Adilsha when the Marathas are besieging Fonda Fort. That's a total flip.
It really underscores their policy. Hedge bets support whoever seems weaker against the Marathas at that moment, try to maintain their own position.
What about Shivaji's direct moves against them, besides the Navy?
Well, it shows his flexibility, too. He actually okayed a Portuguese factory at Dubhole initially.
Oh, okay, so not outright hostility from the start.
No, more like cautious engagement. But then, in 1667, he attacks the Bardèche region. Why? Because the locals were really unhappy with Portuguese laws pushing religious conversions.
Ah, intervening based on local grievances.
Yes, and the sources say the people of Bardèche welcomed him enthusiastically. There was even a treaty in 1670 compensation for ships, some concessions. But the big issue, Chautai, this revenue collection right, that remained a sticking point. Couldn't resolve it.
It really sounds like Shivaji was set on humbling them, though. Reasons being opposing Maratha building work, the forced conversions, raiding ships. And the Marathas did beat them at Fonda Fort in 1680, right? The siege he was supposed to lead himself.
That's right. And that quote from the Portuguese governor after Shivaji's death is so telling.
Yeah, remind us.
He basically said, look, Shivaji was a great warrior, sure, but his strategies against the enemy during peaceful times were much more daunting. His planning, his maneuvering off the battlefield, his death was a relief from that constant strategic pressure, that terror.
Wow, that speaks volumes about his strategic mind, not just his military might.
Absolutely. And the fight didn't stop there. Under his son, Shivaji Maharaj, it got even hotter. The Portuguese actually teamed up with the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb against Shivaji.
A major escalation.
Huge. So the Marathas hit back. Shivaji attacked Revdanda. The Portuguese besieged Fonda Fort in return, but the Marathas broke through, pushed right into Goa.
Really taking the fight to them?
Oh, yeah. Yasaji Kank, one of Shivaji's close associates, fought incredibly bravely, even wounded the governor. Shivaji was chasing the retreating Portuguese army, but he had to break off. The Mughals were attacking South Konkan from another direction. He had to rush back to deal with that threat.
Always fighting on multiple fronts. It's a recurring theme.
Constantly. And the conflict flared up again later, under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. There was a treaty giving Marathas the right to collect Chautai near Kalyan Bhiwandi.
Okay.
The Portuguese governor of Vasai just refused to pay. Plus, they were apparently increasing atrocities against locals again.
So provocation.
Definitely. So Chimajiappa, Bajirao Peshwa's brother, was sent to deal with them. He took Thane Fort in 1737. Then came the big one, a 2-year siege of Vasai Fort.
2 years. That's commitment.
Absolutely. And finally, the Marathas won. A massive victory. Really broke Portuguese power in that specific region for good.
Okay, so that covers the Portuguese in depth, but the Marathas were dealing with a whole network of powers, right? What about the Dutch?
Right, the Dutch. They had a factory down in Vengurla, set up in 1649. It did well initially, but trade took a hit when Shivaji attacked nearby Kudal.
Understandable disruption.
But what's interesting is back in 1665, the Mughal governor of Surat asked the Dutch for naval help, specifically to destroy the Maratha Navy.
And did they help?
Nope. The Dutch refused. Offered no assistance.
Playing it safe. Or maybe seeing the Mughals as a bigger long-term issue.
Could be either or both. And maybe as a result, when the Marathas sacked Surat the second time, they left the Dutch factory alone.
A bit of quid pro quo, perhaps.
Possibly. Later, during Shivaji's Karmatak campaign, the Marathas actually guaranteed the safety of Dutch factories down there and gave them trading permits. The Dutch paid tribute for this protection.
So, a more pragmatic relationship than with the Portuguese? Tense sometimes, but based on mutual calculations.
Seems like it. Less outright conflict, more managing coexistence.
And the French. Similar story.
Somewhat similar, yes. The French set up their factory at Rajapur in 1668, and crucially, they got permission directly from Shivaji Maharaj.
Okay, starting on a better footing.
And they returned the favor, supplying ammunition to Swarajya, Shivaji's growing kingdom. Like the Dutch, the Marathas left the French factory unharmed during the Second Surat attack.
And the French response?
They paid a big tribute, according to the sources, to show their appreciation, let's say.
But French influence went beyond trade later, right, into military stuff.
Yes, significantly. You have Ibrahim Khan Gardi. He was a mercenary trained by the French in artillery. Siddi Shivrabal Peshwa hired him as his artillery chief.
Bringing in European expertise.
Exactly. And Gardi's skills impressed Mahaji Shinde, another key Maratha leader. Shinde then built his own modern, trained army with help from another Frenchman, de Boyne. He set up this really well-equipped artillery unit.
And that mattered why?
It was crucial. It helped Mahaji Shinde project Maratha power effectively in North India, and importantly, it helped keep the British under control for a time. French training indirectly bolstering Maratha strength against the rising British power.
Which brings us neatly to the British, probably the most fateful relationship in the long run. Where did that start politically?
The sources point to the Afzal Khan episode as the starting point for real political dealings with Shivaji Maharaj.
How so?
After Afzal Khan's defeat and death, the Marathas attacked Rajapur. Now, the British had seized a ship there, claiming its owner, Abdul Karim, owed them money.
Right.
The Marathas demanded the ship back. The British refused. Relations soured pretty quickly. The Marathas even detained a couple of British agents, Valaji and Philip Gifford, though they were let go later.
So friction right from the early interactions.
Definitely. And it wasn't just a one-off. Remember when Shivaji was trapped in Panhala Fort, besieged by Adil Shah?
Yeah.
Well, British officers Henry Revington, Gifford again, Valaji, they were supplying ammunition to Adil Shah's army. They seemed pretty sure Shivaji was finished.
Betting on the wrong horse there.
Big time. Shivaji escaped, of course. And the very next year, 1661, the Marathas hit back, defeated the British in the Rajapur campaign, and guess who they arrested and jailed for 2 years?
Let me guess. Revington Gifford?
Revington, Randolph Taylor, and Philip Gifford. Yes, a clear message. Don't mess with us.
Still, despite this bad blood, they did try to make agreements later. I remember reading Henry Oxenden, a British agent, was actually at Shivaji's coronation.
He was, and an agreement was signed June 12, 1674. It granted the British permission to trade in Swarajya, open factories in places like Rajapur to hold.
So a reset.
To a degree, but Shivaji made it very clear who was boss. He insisted on levying a 2.5% octroi tax on British goods.
Maintaining sovereignty.
Absolutely. And he flat out rejected British demands, like getting back goods from their wrecked ships automatically or forcing him into a treaty with the Siddis of Janjira. He dictated the terms.
Okay, speaking of the cities, let's circle back to them. They came from Abyssinia, modern Ethiopia, right? Set up at Janjira. How did the Marathas deal with them, especially since, as you said, the British often sided with them?
The cities were a constant thorn in the Maratha side, especially regarding coastal control. When Shivaji started taking forts nearby Tail, Gosal, Rayari, back in 1648, the cities got nervous.
Understandably.
Then in 1671, the Maratha army effectively blockaded Janjira fort. The city leader actually agreed to surrender.
Oh, you're always a but.
But at the same time, he reached out to the Mughals, offered to become their vassal, basically. The Mughals agreed to help, and with their backing, the city managed to fight off the Marathas.
So another example of alliances shifting against the Marathas. Why were the British and cities so often aligned?
The sources suggest they always helped each other against a common enemy, and that common enemy was usually the Marathas, who threatened both British trading ambitions and city coastal power.
This shared threat led to that naval clash at Kandari Island, didn't it?
Exactly. In 1679, Shivaji decided to build a fort on Kandari to counter both the British and Siddis. Mainak Bhandari was overseeing it.
And the British tried to stop it.
They did. An officer named Hughes tried to cut off supplies to the island, but they ran into fierce opposition from Mainak Bhandari and Daulat Khan, the Maratha naval chief.
What happened?
The Marathas didn't back down. They seized some British ships, captured officers, and then there was this remarkable confrontation, maybe 40 or 50 small Maratha ships against one big British steamship and 7 smaller ones.
Sounds like David versus Goliath.
A bit. And the British were forced to retreat from Kandari in 1680, a real display of Maratha naval guts and tactics.
Did the conflict with the Siddis end there?
Not at all. It continued under Shivaji Maharaj. He really went after them, launching repeated attacks near Andheri, Apte, Nagathain, Janjira, trying to restrict their movements. The sources say he drove them to despair.
But again, the Mughal problem.
Yes, again. He had to suspend the campaign against the Siddis because the Mughal army was marching on Swaraja, the multi-front war reality.
Did the Marathas ever get the upper hand against the cities definitively?
Eventually, yes.
Right.
Later, during the time of Bajiro Peshwa Worst, around 1733, Kumadiappa led another successful campaign against them. This time, the Siddis accepted becoming feudatories under the Marathas. Their independent power was significantly curbed.
Okay, so let's swing back to the British. After Shivaji and Sambhaji, you mentioned things started to change under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, British influence creeping in.
Yes, that's a critical turning point. After Shahu Maharaj, the internal politics of the Maratha Confederacy became more complex, and the British saw openings. Nazaheb Peshwa apparently sought British help on one occasion.
Okay, maybe a one-off.
Perhaps. But the really big shift came with his younger brother, Raghunath Rao. He desperately wanted to be the Peshwa himself.
Internal ambition, often a weakness.
And he turned to the British for help to achieve it. That was the crucial step. It led directly to a British envoy being permanently stationed in the Peshwa's court in Pune.
The door was officially open for interference?
Wide open. And the British walked right in. They started seriously consolidating power. Took Malvan Fort in 1765, tried to grab Thane, Vasai, Vijaydurg, Ratnagiri.
What was their main goal?
Control of the coast, essentially. The whole region from Sachti Vasai down through Konkan. Hugely important for trade.
And this led to a direct military clash.
Yes. The British army was actually escorting Raghunath Rao, their chosen candidate for Peshwa, when they met the main Maratha army near Pune at Talegaon Wadgaon.
And
the British were decisively defeated. It resulted in the Wadgaon Treaty, a major embarrassment for them.
a Maratha victory. But did it stop the British ambition?
Not for long. What's really telling is the reaction of the British governor, Warren Hastings. Despite the defeat, he concluded that for Britain to rule India, ultimately, they had to subdue the Marathas. They were the main obstacle.
I saw the long game.
They did, and they were learning. They even had an envoy, an observer, present in the Maratha camp during a huge Maratha victory against the Battle of Kharda in 1795.
Why would the Marathas allow that?
Good question. Maybe overconfidence or diplomatic protocol. But the sources are clear. This allowed the British to study Maratha military tactics up close.
Gathering intel.
Crucial intelligence. The sources explicitly say Lord Wellesley later used this knowledge to defeat the Marathas. It was strategic observation paving the way for future conquest.
And then internal problems within the Maratha leadership really came to a head.
Tragically, yes. After a key statesman, Nanavid Navis, died, things got really bitter between Bajirao Peshwa II and another powerful leader, Yashwantrao Holkar.
More infighting.
Holkar actually attacked Pune. Bajirao Peshwa II panicked, fled, and sought asylum from the British.
Oh, wow. Running straight to the power he should have been resisting.
Exactly. This led to the Treaty of Vasai in 1802. Essentially, he signed away Maratha independence for British protection.
How did the other Maratha leaders react to that?
They were furious. Shinde, Holkar, they refused to accept it. This sparked the Second Anglo-Maratha War in 1803.
And the result?
The Marathas were defeated. The British made significant gains. The final blow came a bit later with the Third Anglo-Maratha War in 1817. Another Maratha defeat.
And that was the end.
That was pretty much the end of the Maratha Empire as a major power. Their rule formally ended in 1818. Bajirao Peshwa II was pensioned off by the British.
A sad end, driven partly by internal divisions exploited by the British. Now, one more power we need to touch on: the Afghans. How do they fit into this complex picture?
Right, the Afghans. By the mid-18th century, the Mughal Empire was really fading, basically just controlling the Delhi-Agra-Punjab area. Ahmad Shah Abdali, the Afghan king, saw an opportunity and invaded India multiple times.
Creating a power vacuum, essentially.
Exactly. And this led to a really interesting agreement in 1752 between the Marathas and the Mughals.
What was the deal?
The Marathas basically agreed to defend North India, especially what was left of the Mughal lands, from invaders like Abdali.
Taking on the role of protectors of the realm.
Pretty much. In return, the Mughals gave them the right to collect Chatai revenue from Rohilkhand and handed over parts of some provinces. It formally positioned the Marathas as the main defense force against Afghan incursions.
Which leads directly to Panipat, doesn't it? One of the most famous battles in Indian history.
It does. In 1759, Abdali came back again, his fourth invasion. He quickly took Punjab, then Delhi. The Maratha commander there, Daja Shinde, was killed.
A major blow.
Huge. So the Marathas decided they needed to decisively deal with Abdali, push him out for good. A massive army marched north from Pune.
Lay by.
Sadashivrawa Peshwa and Vishwasrao Peshwa, the Peshwa's son.
And they met Abdali where?
on the plains of Panipat near the Yamuna River. The date was January 14th, 1761, the Third Battle of Panipat.
A confrontation of massive scale, and the outcome was devastating for the Marathas.
Utterly devastating. Both Sadachivraubao and Vishwasrao were killed. Thousands perished. The coded message sent back to Pune afterwards is heartbreaking.
What did it say?
2 precious pearls fell, 27 gold coins were lost, and there is no count to the loss of silver and copper coins. A poetic but brutal summary of the human cost.
But even in defeat, there's something profound noted in the sources, isn't there, about their motivation?
Yes. It says the Marathas at Panipat fought with this conviction, this idea of India for the Indians, a broader sense of defending the homeland, perhaps.
And despite the terrible loss, did Abdali manage to hold on to power in Delhi?
No. He found it too difficult to rule, the resistance was still too strong, the losses too high. He returned home fairly soon after. And significantly, neither he nor his successors ever invaded India again.
So the Maratha sacrifice at Panipat, though a military disaster, effectively ended the Afghan threat from the northwest.
That's a key takeaway from the sources. The price was immense, but the outcome had long-term significance in securing that frontier.
Okay, so stepping back. The sources seem to conclude that it was only after the Maratha power finally declined in the early 19th century that the British could establish their absolute supremacy in India. What's the big picture here for you, the listener, taking all this in?
Well, I think the story of the Maratha Empire as told through these sources is just incredible. It's about remarkable strategic thinking right from the start. It's about a really unique, consistent resistance against colonial powers, unlike most other Indian states at the time.
Yeah.
And it's about unbelievably complex diplomacy and warfare, juggling the Portuguese, Dutch, French, British, Siddis, Mughals, Afghans. It's mind-boggling. They really understood the Europeans' deeper motives and tried sophisticated strategies to counter them.
Even if, in the end, they couldn't stop that larger colonial wave.
Right. Internal divisions, the sheer scale of the British challenge eventually.
Right.
But their resistance shaped the history of the subcontinent profoundly for centuries.
So you've just journeyed with us through this deep dive into, well, fascinating, really complex history of the Maratha Empire. We've seen Shivaji Maharaj's incredible foresight setting the stage. We've seen leaders like Sambhaji, Chimajiappa, the Peshwas fighting these intense battles. And we've untangled some of those intricate diplomatic games they played with everyone from the Portuguese to the Afghans. It really did shape India's path.
It absolutely did. And perhaps this whole story leaves you with a thought to consider. In our own world today, with global connections and interactions happening constantly, how often do we really pause to look beyond the surface, to scrutinize the long-term intentions behind interactions that seem, well, maybe just routine or benign? Much like the Marathas had to scrutinize those early European traders.
That's a really powerful question to leave folks with. Food for thought, definitely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel better informed, maybe a bit inspired too, by the Marathas and their long struggle to safeguard their sovereignty.